Here's a rewritten version of the story, expanded slightly for smoother flow and natural pacing, with no headings, no bullet points, no section breaks. Just one continuous narrative in the original first-person voice, keeping the dramatic tone and details intact while making it read more like a seamless, flowing account. It was 5 a.m. when the crash hit, glass exploding like a bomb in the dead silence of suburban Phoenix. I shot upright, old Marine training kicking in before my brain caught up to the fact that this wasn't Fallujah, this was Saguaro Springs, and someone had just declared open war on my driveway. I peered through the blinds and nearly choked on my own rage. There was Vivian Blackwood, our HOA president, going full psychopath on my buddy Connor's F-350 with a crowbar. She was dressed in designer workout gear, diamond tennis bracelet flashing under the streetlight with every swing. Crash after crash, $8,000 in damage and climbing. She actually paused between blows to check her manicure. The sheer audacity of it burned hotter than the Arizona sun. What this entitled woman didn't know was that my security cameras were rolling high definition every second of her tantrum. And Connor, he wasn't just some blue-collar veteran she could terrorize. When she finally learned what his real day job was, that frozen Botox smile of hers was going to crack like the truck's windshield she just shattered. My name is Garrett Thornfield. I'm 52, divorced, Purple Heart recipient, and I thought I'd found some quiet after 20 years of service. I bought this modest ranch house in Saguaro Springs with what was left after the divorce cleaned me out. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, beige mediocrity on every side, and apparently a front row seat to watching petty tyranny unfold under a designer handbag. The morning air always smelled of creosote, fresh asphalt, and broken dreams, with leaf blowers providing the daily dawn symphony, because even the desert isn't allowed to look natural here. 847 identical homes, everyone forced into the same mandatory desert landscaping of cacti, sneezed across expensive gravel. Connor was my brother from 2 tours in Iraq. We came home with matching invisible scars. He drove down from Phoenix once a month for our PTSD support group, always bringing decent coffee that didn't taste like motor oil. His white F-350 was pristine, veteran plates, camping gear in the bed, family photos on the dash. Not anymore. Vivian Blackwood ruled this slice of suburban purgatory like a drill sergeant from hell. 48, real estate agent, married to a plastic surgeon, face barely moving when she spoke. No kids, but she treated the whole neighborhood like her personal boot camp. White Tesla Model X in the driveway of the corner mansion that cost more than most people's lifetime earnings. HOA president for 3 straight terms. No one dared run against her. My first run-in came 3 months after I moved in. I hung a standard 3 by 5 American flag on the front porch. Next morning, a bright yellow violation notice was taped under my wiper. Unapproved flag placement, $300 fine. I called the HOA office thinking it had to be a mistake. The secretary explained, in the tone reserved for the particularly dense, that flags required regulation poles, specific angles, and approval from the architectural committee. When I asked who was on the committee, she said, Mrs. Blackwood. Just Vivian. I went to the board meeting. The community center smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and crushed souls. 5 board members sat behind a folding table like they were judging war crimes. I presented my case politely. Purple Heart veteran, serve my country. Just want to fly the flag with respect. Vote was 4-1 against me. Vivian's cronies didn't even look up from their phones. She smiled that plastic smile and said, perhaps you should have read the CC and RS more carefully before purchasing. Connor was visiting that week. He saw the whole flag fiasco, parked his truck in the legal guest spot, and stayed 4 days to help me file an appeal. That's when Vivian hit us with a $500 fine for a commercial vehicle. Connor's F-350 was clearly personal use, but apparently any pickup that made her Tesla look inadequate qualified as commercial. 2 weeks later, he came back for our monthly group meeting. We had a good session, 6 of us working through demons, sharing stories that would keep civilians awake at night. He stayed over, planning to leave after sunrise coffee. At 5 a.m., the glass started exploding. I watched from the window on my boxers as Vivian finished her masterpiece. Spiderweb windows, deflated tires, and military trash carved deep into the tailgate with the precision of someone who practiced her cursive. She surveyed her work like Picasso finishing Guernica, then walked next door to the Hendersons and handed their teenage son Tyler a crisp $20 bill. She pointed at the truck, made elaborate gestures, then melted back into the pre-dawn dark like the suburban vampire she was. Connor appeared beside me, calm as if he were reading the weather. "You getting this on camera?" he asked quietly. I nodded. He pulled out his phone and started recording from another angle. Let her finish. 20 minutes later, Phoenix PD rolled up. Vivian was already there in Lululemon. I just committed a felony, activewear, tears streaming like a soap opera star. "Officers, I was on my morning run when that truck nearly ran me down. The driver was aggressive. I feared for my life." Tyler stepped up right on cue. "Yeah, I saw from my window. Truck was swerving like crazy." The cops looked at Connor, big guy, military tattoos, 1,000-yard stare, standing next to a demolished truck in yesterday's clothes, and their hands drifted toward cuffs. That's when I stepped forward with my phone. "Officers, before you do anything irreversible, you might want to see this." The 4K footage was crystal clear. Vivian swinging the crowbar at 5:03 a.m. Tyler's curtains drawn tight. The older cop watched it twice, then turned to Vivian with the look of someone who'd just bitten into roadkill thinking it was steak. "Ma'am, you want to explain how a parked truck nearly ran you down?" Her face tried shock, indignation, panic, all failing against the Botox. The camera angle is misleading. I was defending myself from future aggressive behavior. Handcuffs clicked. Miranda writes. The whole show. While she rode in the back of the cruiser, I started working the phones. First call, Arizona Department of Real Estate. False police reports don't mix well with a professional license. Second round, every Phoenix news station. Local HOA president arrested for vandalizing veteran's truck is catnip for producers. That evening, Connor and I sat in the backyard with cold beers and grilled steaks while mesquite smoke drifted. He stared at the desert sunset and said quietly, "This is bigger than your HOA, Garrett. Way bigger." She made bail in 12 hours and came back swinging. 7 violation notices on my door the next Monday. Mailbox 2 inches too high, wrong shade of beige doormat, visible garden hose, $100 each. By Wednesday, half the neighborhood was drowning in yellow paper. Mrs. Henderson got cited for excessive bird feeding. The Johnsons for chalk art on the driveway. Even 80-year-old Rosemary Kowalski, who walks with a cane and volunteers at the church food bank, caught a notice for improperly maintained walkway lighting. I knocked on Rosemary's door Thursday morning. She poured coffee strong enough to wake the dead and spread financial statements across her table like battle maps. "Garrett, honey, sit down. Something stinks worse than a fish market in August." We found landscaping invoices, $47,000 for community beautification that only touched 4 houses, all on Vivian Street, including hers. My brother-in-law, Rick, an accountant, ran the HOA management company through the Arizona Corporation Commission database. Blackwood Property Services, LLC. Registered agent. Marcus Blackwood, her brother-in-law. They've been overcharging about 40% above market for 2 years. Rough skim, $190,000 from resident assessments. That night, I started the Saguaro Springs Truth Facebook group. Rosemary and I seeded it. By midnight, 37 members. By week's end, 127. Vietnam vet Charlie Martinez posted photos of 23 violation notices in 1 month. His Purple Heart plate was too ostentatious. Single mom Jessica Troy shared how Vivian reported her CPS because she worked night shifts as an ER nurse and different cars picked up her kids from school. The pattern was clear. Veterans, minorities, single parents, blue-collar workers, anyone she deemed undesirable. Then she filed a complaint with the city claiming our PTSD support group was an unlicensed drug rehab. She even wrote the VA suggesting they investigate Connor and me for substance abuse. That's when Connor called. "Remember when I said this was bigger? Tomorrow morning, you'll see exactly how much." Friday, I was grabbing burnt coffee at Circle K when I spotted her white Tesla parked across from my job at the city electrical department. She sat there 20 minutes, engine purring, AC blasting, making animated phone calls. The next day, my supervisor, Jim, pulled me into his office that smelled of stale cigarettes and broken dreams. Got a call from some HOA president. Says you've been making threats, acting erratic, possible PTSD episode endangering city property. He put me on administrative leave, pending investigation. That afternoon, a private investigator showed up at my door in a cheap polyester suit. Routine background check. Questions about military service, divorce, substance abuse, violent tendencies. I invited him in, served iced tea, answered everything patiently. When he packed up, I asked who was paying him. Can't divulge, but someone's concerned about your mental stability and your relationship with other veterans. Connor called that evening. She knows who I am, or thinks she does. Her PI ran a lazy background check. Shows I work for the state attorney general's office, but missed the fine print. She thinks I'm some pencil-pushing clerk instead of the guy who sends corrupt officials to federal prison. At 9:47 p.m., a burner phone rang. Connor recorded every second. Vivian purred through the line. I know you work for the attorney general. Everyone has a price. $500,000 cash, untraceable. Make some HOA investigation files disappear. 23 minutes of her confessing embezzlement, bribery, witness tampering, conspiracy to obstruct justice. Next morning, she walked into the Arizona Attorney General's headquarters with a briefcase full of cash, asking the receptionist for that clerk Connor who handles HOA paperwork. Security footage caught the exact moment her face realized she'd just tried to bribe the Assistant Attorney General in charge of public corruption prosecutions. She froze, briefcase in a death grip, while reality crashed down like a monsoon. Connor spread classified files across my kitchen table. Your nightmare with Vivian. She's a foot soldier in a criminal enterprise. Blackwood Property Services was the nerve center of a $12 million racketeering operation across 63 Arizona HOAs. Infiltrate boards with planted candidates, like Vivian, drain funds through phantom contracts and kickbacks. But it wasn't just theft. Systematic harassment campaigns targeting minorities, veterans, working-class families, selective enforcement designed to force them to sell below market. FBI calls it conspiracy to violate civil rights with hate crime enhancements. He traced connections on a flowchart. She's been buying confidential information, credit scores, employment problems, medical records, including from the VA Medical Center. Data breaches, HIPAA violations, bribery of government officials. We're looking at 25 to life for the ringleaders. Then he asked the question that changed everything. You ready to help us destroy this network? I thought of every family they'd terrorized, every veteran targeted, every dream crushed for profit and prejudice. Tell me what you need. He grinned. We're throwing a pool party. Every corrupt HOA president, contractor, and bought official in Arizona is invited. They think they're celebrating Vivian's legal victory. They have no idea they're walking into the biggest federal sting in state history. The next 60 days turned my quiet neighborhood into a crime scene disguised as a community pool renovation. FBI Special Agent Maria Santos posed as Desert Oasis pool construction. She installed cameras and light fixtures, furniture, rocks, umbrellas, even underwater in the pool. 47 devices capturing courtroom-quality audio and video. Rosemary coordinated invitations with the precision of a logistics officer. Each corrupt president received a tailored message appealing to ego and greed. Vivian's victory over federal harassment was a model other HOAs could copy. I practiced my defeated veteran routine. Mrs. Blackwood taught me respect for community leadership. Connais mon surveillance protocole. The wire on my chest was smaller than a button battery. 2 nights before the party, Connor gave the final briefing. If anything goes sideways, follow extraction. No heroics. These people have killed to protect smaller secrets. Then Vivian's desperation turned lethal. Unfamiliar black SUVs appeared on my street. My mail vanished for 3 days. Someone keyed snitch into my truck. Anonymous flyers warned of communist infiltration. Thursday night, my electrical main line was cut. Federal crime that could have killed anyone who touched it. Boot prints, tool marks, DNA on discarded wire cutters proved it was paid sabotage. Tyler Henderson showed up at my door Friday morning, shaking. She's been paying me $50 a week for 6 months to spy on neighbors, veterans, minorities, anyone problematic. Take pictures of license plates, report visitors. She gave me $500 to put something in the pool filtration system during the party. Called it a harmless prank. But it's not, is it? Connor and Agent Santos exchanged looks. Chemical sabotage of a public gathering was domestic terrorism. Life sentences under anti-terrorism statutes. Tyler's confession probably saved dozens of lives. The party couldn't be canceled without tipping the network. Instead, we doubled down. Hazmat teams neutralized tampered pool chemicals overnight. Yodi swept for explosives. Catering staff became federal agents. Food was replaced. Additional agents posed as guests. Saturday morning, the heat hit 95 by 8. Tyler called in panic. Vivian had banged on his door at 5 a.m., threatening his family if he testified, knew his dad's tax problems, his mom's immigration status. At 11, as guests arrived, a black SUV pulled up to Connor's secure federal apartment. 2 ex-military men tried serving fake papers claiming he was under investigation for abuse of authority. They were carrying concealed weapons and forged federal documents. FBI security detained them immediately. Vivian arrived in a sundress and designer sunglasses, smiling like she was above the law. 73 guests mingled. HOA presidents, management executives, city councilmen, county commissioners, contractors, celebrating what they thought was her triumph. I played my part perfectly, telling Phoenix HOA President Marcus Webb, sometimes we veterans need civilian guidance. Every word recorded. Vivian held court near the deep end. The key is documentation. Every violation, every fine has to look legitimate on paper. The feds can't prove discrimination if the paperwork is perfect. Agent Santos, posing as the pool contractor, handed her an envelope of marked bills. Standard 15% commission. $47,000 project cost. Your management fee comes to $750. Vivian counted the cash openly. Perfect. Brings my personal take from Saguaro Springs to just over $200,000. Not bad for 18 months of community service. These residents are so grateful they don't even notice when their assessments fund my Cabo vacation home. The pool deck went silent except for lapping water. Connor stepped forward from behind the refreshment table, badge flashing in the sun. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Connor McKenzie, Arizona Attorney General. You're all under arrest for racketeering, conspiracy, civil rights violations, and corruption of public officials. Vivian froze, envelope clutched in manicured hands, face transforming into pure terror as she realized the quiet veteran's friend she'd targeted was the state's top corruption prosecutor. FBI agents rose from landscaping, equipment sheds, even the pool itself. Handcuffs clicked like metallic applause. The largest public corruption arrest in Arizona history unfolded around a suburban swimming pool that, after 18 months of sabotage, was finally ready for its first honest swim. 6 months later, I'm floating in that crystal-clear community pool, watching Connor practice his backstroke while federal prosecutors in D.C. use our case as a template for nationwide HOA reform. Vivian got 8 years plus $2. $3 million restitution. Every penny she stole. Her husband filed for divorce the day after sentencing. Marcus Blackwood got 5 years in forfeiture of every property bought with dirty money. The ripple effects shook Arizona. 12 corrupt board presidents, 6 city officials, 3 state legislators face charges. Saguaro Springs elected a real reform board. Property values rose 12%. Monthly barbecues replaced fear with laughter. Kids cannonball into safe water. Veterans fly flags without citations. Immigrants plant cultural gardens without harassment. Rosemary married Charlie Martinez. Their wedding was in the community center we renamed Thornfield Veterans Hall. Tyler Henderson, whose courage stopped a mass casualty plot, got the first scholarship from the new Veterans Fund. He's studying criminal justice at Arizona State, aiming for the FBI. Connor runs a statewide task force on HOA corruption, 300 complaints and counting. He's writing a book, Poolside Justice. Hollywood keeps calling. Tonight, the desert sunset paints the neighborhood gold. Children laugh. Stories prove that ordinary people, when they refuse to accept tyranny as the price of a mortgage, can bring down empires built on greed and petty power. And somewhere in federal prison, Vivian Blackwood is finally learning what real consequences look like.